A week before the college entrance exam, the class beauty whipped out a stack of so-called real exam answers, claiming her aunt, who worked at the provincial exam board, had hooked her up. The whole class scrambled for them. Everyone except me. I tried to warn them, don't trust it, and ended up being hated by the entire class at the post-exam party. I was dragged and woke up deep in a remote mountain. Sold to a 50-something bachelor. I tried to escape, slipped off a cliff, and died when I opened my eyes again. I was back on the day she handed out those answers. This time, I say nothing. Chapter 1. Lyncherman slammed that stack of papers onto the podium, her voice crisp and sharp. My aunt, the deputy director at the provincial exam board, personally compiled the full set of real college entrance exam answers, one for each of you. Before she even finished, a few guys in the front row had already rushed up. Mine? Mine? Give me one first. Sure, man. You're insane. This connection is unreal. Desks and chairs clattered in a chaotic wave. Out of 46 people in the class, 45 crowded around her. I sat in the last row by the window, flipped to the next page of my workbook, and started writing the first step of a derivative problem in my past life. I stood up right then and pointed out that those answers were a patchwork of nonsense riddled with errors. What I got was the whole class's fury. At the celebration banquet after the exam, Fun Xiaoying poured me a glass of spiked orange juice. When I woke up, I was in a pitch-black mud hut. The door bolted from the outside. Class monitor Chinese voice rang out in the yard, laughing as he said to an old bachelor, "This girl's healthy. She can work and pop out, kids. Just take her and be satisfied." I tried to run once. My foot slipped as I crossed the ridge and I tumbled down the cliff with the rocks. My back slammed into a sharp stone. My chest tightened until I coughed up blood and the sky above slowly dimmed. So this time, I say nothing. Believe it or not, it's none of my business. Smack. A crumpled paper ball hit my face and bounced onto my workbook. Lyncherman walked over flanked by 7 or 8 people, arms crossed, chin held high. "Sununyan, are you deaf or just pretending not to hear?" I didn't look up. She slapped her hand on my desk. "I'm talking to you." I pushed the paper ball aside and kept reading the problem. Her lackey song, Jai squeezed in with a shrill voice. "Sununyan, what's your attitude? Last time for the school-level top student award, the whole class voted for Sherman, but you went to the grade director alone and changed the result. Sherman has been upset about it for days. I only stopped my pen when I heard that the school-level top student award wasn't chosen by vote. It was based on 3 hard metrics: overall grades, classroom performance, and discipline records. Lynn Sherman ranked 4th. It wasn't her turn, but the version she always told everyone was that I stole it from her. In my past life, it was the same. The exact same words, the exact same accusation. If you apologize to Sherman in front of the whole class right now, she might generously give you a copy of the answers. Sanjay flit her pinky finger, wearing a look of condescension. I closed my workbook and looked up at Lynn Sherman. No need, 2 words, crisp and clean. The smile on Lynn Sherman's face froze for a second. She hadn't expected me to refuse. In my past life, I refused to. But then I stood up and exposed her. This time I've learned my lesson. I just refuse. No extra words, but apparently just refusing isn't enough either. Chapter 2. What did you say? Chinying stood up from his seat nearby, walked over in 2 steps, and leaned on my desk. "Sununyan, I've had it with you last time for the English speech contest registration as the class rep. Did you deliberately leave out Shyman's name?" I looked at him. This guy in my past life smiled as he sent me into the mountains. "No," he frowned, putting on a righteous front. Lyncherman turned in her registration materials 3 days late, way past the deadline. My tone was calmer than I expected. The teacher posted the notice in the group chat right then. "You can check the records. Stop making excuses." Lynchman cut me off with a sharp voice. You just can't stand to see me do well. You're out to get me. The classmates swarmed in. Sunyan, you're so shady. What did Sherman ever do to you? Exactly. She's giving everyone answers. And you're the only one with a sour face. She has the answers. She'll get into a top 985. What do you have? I stared at these faces. A few of them in my past life showed up outside that mud hut. Peeking in and jeering. I clenched my knuckles until they turned white. Then let go. Believe whatever you want. I stood up, grabbed Lin Shimon's wrist, and said, if you're not convinced, let's go to the office right now and talk to the teacher face to face. She struggled backward, let go of me. You're crazy. The classroom door was suddenly pushed open. Homeroom teacher Jo walked in, carrying a stack of test papers under her arm. She scanned the chaotic classroom, frowning. The bell rang 2 minutes ago. What's all this noise? Everyone, sit back down. A few of them shoved each other, reluctantly shuffling back to their seats. Teacher Jo slapped the stack of papers onto the podium with a loud thud. Starting today, we're doing pre-exam sprint papers. These are joint prediction tests from the Provincial Key High School Research Office. 6 sets total, covering all subjects. The school spent a lot of money to get these. The hit rate is extremely high, so everyone must take them seriously. From the back row, someone muttered under their breath. What prediction tests can they beat Shimon's real exam answers? Her cousin works at the provincial exam board. How can this schoolbot stuff compare? I can't be bothered to write them. Waste of time. I need to memorize the answers. Lincherman sat back down, tilted her head slightly, a smile curling at the corners of her mouth, and shot a glance in my direction. That look was dripping with smugness. The whole class, and you're the only fool. I ignored her, took the test paper, and started writing from the first question. In my past life's college entrance exam, these prediction tests hit 3 major physics problems and 2 math final questions. The total score value is over 60 points. I owe my provincial top score to these papers. With only a week left until the exam, I've been out of books for years. I have to seize every minute. The others were still whispering. Their pens idle on the desks. I wrote one question after another. Chapter 3. After the first class ended, Fan Xiaoying walked over with a cup of warm water. Nan, what's wrong? Did you get into a fight with Sherman just now? She sat down across from me, looking at me with a worried expression. Fang Xiaojing, my best friend from my past life. She transferred here in freshman year, knowing no one. I was the one who showed her around and helped her catch up on missed lessons. She called me Xian, saying I was her best sister for life. Then at the celebration banquet, she personally slipped something into my drink. I'm fine. I pushed the water cup back. Fan Xiaoying froze for a moment. Aren't you thirsty? No. She pursed her lips, leaned in closer, and lowered her voice. Nanan, do you think Shimon's answers aren't reliable? Honestly, I feel a bit iffy, too. How about I give you my copy and we study it together? Such familiar words. That's exactly what she said in my past life. I looked at her gentle brows and eyes and my stomach churned. No need. I'll review on my own. She blinked as if about to say something more. Fam Xiaoying. Sanjay waved at her from the hallway. Shimon's calling you. Fang smiled and nodded at me, then got up and left. As she turned the corner in the hallway, her pace noticeably quickened through the window. I watched her walk up to Lin Sherman. The two of them huddled together, whispering a few words. Lin Sherman glanced at me and Fan Xiaoying glanced too. Then they both laughed together. The scene, I never noticed it in my past life. If I had seen it back then, maybe everything that followed wouldn't have happened. I pulled my gaze away and opened the second set of prediction tests during lunch break. Only a few people were left in the classroom. Fang Xiaoying came again, this time with a box of strawberries. Nanan, you didn't go to the cafeteria at noon. Don't starve yourself. I already ate. I hadn't, but I didn't want to touch anything she handed me. She placed the strawberries on the corner of my desk. Keep them for after class. I didn't move. She stood there for a while, then left. The strawberries sat on the desk corner all afternoon. When school ended, I threw them into the trash untouched. Chapter 4. To save time. The school compressed the 6 sets of prediction tests into 2 days. Day 1 covered Chinese and math. When the bell rang, I already had my pen ready. The noise around me was impossible to ignore. This test is way too long. Forget it. I'll just guess on the multiple choice. It's not even the real exam anyway. I'll leave the big questions blank. I can't even be bothered to guess on the multiple choice. Just checking the answers is easier. No brain work. Someone in the back row directly laid their head down. Lynn Sherman on my right sat upright, but the test paper in front of her was completely blank. She had a stack of handwritten real exam answers hidden in her desk drawer, silently memorizing them with her head down. Her lips moved and occasionally she traced something on her thigh with her pen. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw her answer sheet's multiple choice section, all random guesses, those so-called answers. I glanced at them in my past life. The content was shoddy. Even the multiple choice options didn't match the real exam format, but she believed it wholeheartedly. The whole class believed it wholeheartedly. I lowered my head. Starting from the first question of the Chinese exam paper, reading the material word by word, organizing my thoughts, and writing down my answers. The invigilator wasn't teacher. It was Teacher Wang from the next class. He walked around, saw half the class spacing out or chatting, and frowned, tapping the podium twice. Quiet, this is an exam. The buzz died down a bit, but within 2 minutes, it was back to normal. The only one writing non-stop was me. The math paper was even worse. For the last 2 killer problems, no one in the class except me even touched their pens. Qin Yiming glanced at the questions and flipped right past them. What kind of crappy questions are these? The GA would never test something this obscure. I spent 20 minutes solving all 3 sub-questions of the final problem when the papers were collected. Teacher Wang picked up mine, flipped through it, and his eyes shifted slightly, but he said nothing. The next day, after English and Science Comprehensive, same situation. The whole class acted like they were on an early vacation and I was the only one seriously writing. Chapter 5. On the 3rd morning, Teacher Zhou walked into the classroom holding a score sheet. Her face was grim. She slapped the score sheet on the podium. I don't know what you've been up to lately. The classroom went dead silent in this mock sprint exam. Out of 12 classes in the grade, our class ranked dead last in average score. No one dared to speak. Dead last. She repeated it. Last month's monthly exam, we were in the top 3. In less than a month, your scores have dropped this much. Do you think that's normal? In the back row, someone ducked their head. Teacher Zhou picked up the score sheet and read it line by line. Scores in the 300s and 200s were everywhere. When she got to Qinying, she paused. Qinying math, 28 points. Last month's monthly exam, you had 103 points. Qinyi's face turned red and he stubbornly said, "This paper is too offbeat. It doesn't prove anything." Offbeat, Teacher Zhou flipped the score sheet to the last page. Offbeat enough that 37 students in the grade scored over 600 total. The classroom was completely silent. I need to single out one more person. Teacher's gaze turned to Lynn Sherman. Lynn Sherman, your total score across 6 papers is under 200 points. Your multiple choice accuracy is worse than random guessing. Your blank rate on big questions is 95%. Is this the level you're taking to the gallo? Sanjay was about to speak up in defense, but Teacher Zhou pinned her down with a look. Lynn Sherman stood up. Her next rate. Teacher, I have my own study plan. This kind of paper has no reference value for me. What study plan lets you score under 200 across 6 subjects? I lure men her lip and didn't continue. She couldn't say in front of the teacher, I'm memorizing the Galo answer keys. Teacher Joe didn't press further. She flipped to another page, her tone softening. In this exam, there were a few ultra-high difficulty questions. The question setter said fewer than 100 students in the province could solve them. One person in our class solved them all. She looked at me, Sun Yanin, total score 697, first in the grade. Based on the difficulty conversion of this paper, that's equivalent to a Jiao score of over 700, more than enough to contend for the provincial top scorer. I stood up. Thank you, teacher. I'll keep it up. After a few seconds of silence, the back row exploded. She must have cheated. Exactly. There's no way she solved everything. That's too fake. We had the answers and still didn't do well. How did she score so high alone? Ridiculous. Teacher Joe slapped the podium. The chatter died down a bit, but the malice in those stares didn't lessen at all. Lynn Sherman gripped her pen, her fingertips white, staring at me without moving. Then she suddenly stood up. Teacher, I want to report Sun Yan in for cheating. Chapter 6. I saw her hiding a phone in her backpack yesterday. Lin Xian's voice was urgent and fast. She kept her head down during the exam, definitely searching for answers. Sanji immediately chimed in. I saw it too. Something was flashing in her desk drawer. Chining also stepped forward. Right. Otherwise, how do you explain her solving the hardest questions in the whole grade? If she were that good, why didn't she rank in the top 3 in last month's monthly exam? A barrage of accusations came crashing down. Teacher Joe glanced at me, but didn't say anything in the classroom. Sunnan, come with me to the office. I stood up and from behind me came a few suppressed laughs. Done for, huh, playing the smart kid. Got caught and still trying to run out of the classroom down the hallway into the office. Teacher Joe closed the door, sat down at her desk, and let out a sigh. Nanan. I've reviewed all the surveillance footage. She rubbed her temples. You kept your head down the entire time writing the exam, never stopping your pen. Your phone was in the side pocket of your backpack the whole time. Screen off. What those students said was all lies. She looked at me, her expression complicated. I've seen how the class has been treating you lately. Is it because of that answer sheet thing with Lyncherman? I didn't answer directly. Teacher. I'd like to apply to go home for self-study. I can't focus at school these last few days. I'll come back on time for the college entrance exam. She didn't hesitate. She opened her drawer, pulled out a leave slip, filled it out on the spot, and signed it. If anything comes up, call me anytime. I took the leave slip, bent down, and gave a bow. In my past life, after I disappeared, Teacher Joe ran to the police station over and over, repeatedly checking with classmates. Everyone said I left on my own after the celebration party and no one ever saw me again. She blamed herself for a long time over that. I looked at the gray hairs at her temples, my throat tightening. Thank you, teacher. As I walked out of the office, I ran into my dad in the hallway. He was wearing an old jacket, carrying a thermos, walking toward me. Nanan, Dad brought you some pork rib soup. The door of the next office opened. Director Liu from the disciplinary office poked his head out. Saw my dad. Paused for a second, then smiled. Old Sue, long time no see. Come by my office sometime when you're free. Your father taught me back in the day. I still remember that favor. My dad waved his hand. You're too kind. My dad's been gone so many years. No need to keep bringing it up. I watched Director Liu's attitude toward my dad. It wasn't the polite courtesy you give an ordinary parent. It was genuine respect from the heart. My grandfather was the principal of the best middle school in this city before he passed. After retiring, he still led several teacher training programs. When he died, half the education bureau came to see him off, but Dad never talked about any of this. He taught physics at a rural middle school with a low salary and few words. His only request was for me to study hard. I took the thermos and watched him walk away. His back looked so much older. In my past life, he searched for me for 7 years. His hair turned completely white. Chapter 7. Back at the classroom, the moment I pushed the door open, a basin of water came crashing down from above the doorframe. I sidestepped and the basin clattered to the floor. Water splashing everywhere. The bottom half of my pants was soaked. Lincherman stood in the front row. Her shoulder twitched noticeably, and she quickly put on an innocent expression. "Oh, we were just cleaning up. Didn't notice you were back." She pointed at my seat. "By the way, your stuff accidentally fell on the floor. Check if anything's broken." I walked over quickly. My review notes were scattered all over the floor. Every single page drenched in ink. The handwriting was blurred into a mess, completely illegible. On the blank spaces, someone had drawn big crosses with a thick marker and written "Get lost" and "fake." These notes were 3 years of my work. Every knowledge point had key highlights and common mistakes marked. People around me were laughing. Someone was slumped over their desk, shoulders shaking. Someone was pretending to read, their eyes full of shot and free. I crouched down, picked them up page by page, shook off the water stains, and stuffed them into my backpack. I didn't cry. I didn't lose my temper in my past life. I broke down at this moment. Cried through the whole class at my desk. The whole class spread the word. Sunanin got scared and cried. Then Linnerman, like a victor, bought everyone bubble tea. Not this time. I zipped up my backpack and turned to leave. Lincherman blocked the door. "Sununyanin, you're just leaving like that, have you?" Thought about apologizing. I stepped forward, spun her around, and pinned her against the door frame. She wasn't ready. Her back hit the frame, and she let out a hiss. I leaned in close to her ear and said one sentence in a low voice. Lin Shaman's face went pale instantly. Her eyes went wide, and she instinctively stepped back half a step. I let go, grabbed my backpack, and walked out of the classroom behind me. It was dead silent for several seconds. No one followed. When I reached the end of the hallway, I heard a scream from the classroom. "What right does she have to threaten me?" But no one came after me because what I said was "That end of yours. She's not some deputy director at all. Want me to look up exactly which unit she works for and what her real position is?" The memories of my past life came flooding back after the college entrance exam ended. The truth was laid bare of Lin Shaman's so-called aunt. Chiniwa was just a temporary worker in the District Education Bureau, responsible for sending and receiving documents. She had zero connection to the Provincial Exam Board. Chapter 8. Without those people harassing me, my efficiency at home studying was astonishingly high. The knowledge I'd abandoned over 3 years in my past life slowly came back. Many things I only needed to glance at once to recall the traces of what I'd learned back then. During the day, I solved problems. At night, I memorized textbooks. I slept only 4 hours a day. Teacher Joe sent me a message every night asking if I had any questions I couldn't solve. I took photos of each one and sent them to her. She contacted the physics teacher from the neighboring class who specifically explained the solutions to 2 tough final problems to me. Occasionally, I opened the class group chat. It was all messages about eating, drinking, and having fun. Screenshots of gaming. Group photos at bubble tea shops. Videos from KTV. Chin Yuming sent a voice message. "Brothers, after the last exam, the day after tomorrow, let's head straight to the usual spot to celebrate my treat." Over a dozen people replied with a row of hella and "let's go. Let's go." Lynn Sherman posted a message in the group. "Sununyanin, I'm giving you one last chance. All you have to do is film a video. Admit in front of the whole class that you're jealous of me, targeting me, and snitching on me to the teacher, then apologize to me publicly. I might consider sharing the answers with you. Otherwise, when the results come out, don't cry. Dozens of replies flooded in below. Haha, she must be freaking out by now. After all, she doesn't even have the answers. How can she compete with us? We could have all gotten into a top 985 university together, but she's the only one falling behind. Too pathetic. Lol, don't invite her to the class party. Then it'll be awkward. I flipped my phone face down on the desk and continued working on the next set of practice papers. Idiots. A bunch of idiots. Day by day passed, 3 days until the exam. 2 days, 1 day, every night. I reorganized all the mistakes I'd made that day, annotating the methods and thought processes. I did each problem on the prediction papers at least 3 times. Every formula I needed to memorize. Every ancient text I had to recite. Every problem-solving framework I had to master. All etched into my brain. I was ready. Chapter 9. The night before the exam, Pham Xiaoing sent me a private message. Nanan, good luck tomorrow. I've actually always wanted to tell you what Sherman said that day was way too much. Even though I took her answers, I felt uneasy about it inside. You were right. You should study hard. I stared at the screen for a long time, and she'd said something similar in my past life. The night before the exam, she called me specifically and said, Showan, I'll always be on your side. Then at the celebration party the day after the exam, she smiled and handed me that glass of orange juice, saying, have a drink. Everyone's celebrating. Don't be a killjoy. I didn't reply to her message, but I didn't delete it either because I wanted to keep it as evidence just in case. After about 10 minutes, my phone buzzed again. In the class group chat, Fun Xiao Qing posted a screenshot. It was our private conversation. But she'd only cropped the part she sent. The caption read, see, I kindly advised Sunyan, and she didn't even bother to respond. You really can't deal with someone like this. The comments exploded immediately. Too cold-hearted. Xiaoing was so nice to her. Don't bother with her. Let her take the exam alone. She'll regret it when it's over. Lyncherman replied with an emoji and added, forget it. Some people don't know what's good for them. Let her be. When she sees her score, she'll come crawling to us. I turned off my phone, pulled open the curtains. It was pitch black outside with only a few lights on in distant buildings. Maybe other students were still studying. Maybe it was another person being isolated by their whole class. I closed the curtains, got into bed, and shut my eyes. Tomorrow, everything would be decided. Chapter 10. At 6:30 inches the morning, my alarm went off. I got dressed, checked my admission ticket, ID card, and stationery pouch 3 times, then headed out. A crowd had already gathered at the exam site entrance. Teacher Joe stood by the gate holding a student roster, checking off names one by one. When she saw me, she walked over and patted my shoulder. Ninan just performed normally. I nodded a few steps forward and I heard laughter. Lynn Sherman, wearing a new dress with flawless makeup, was surrounded by a group of people as she stepped out of a taxi. Qin Yuming was eagerly carrying her bag. Fun Xiao Qing stood beside her. When she saw me, her gaze darted away. I pulled a knowledge point handbook from my bag and flipped to the last few pages to review formulas. A hand reached out and snatched the handbook away. Lyncherman held my handbook, tossing her hair. Sunan, still pretending at this point. She flipped through the manual and let out a sneer. What's the point of memorizing all this? The answers I have are 10 times more than what's in your book. She stepped closer, lowering her voice, but making sure the people nearby could still hear. 3 years of your hard work can't beat one phone call from my aunt. Someone like you with no connections or background. The best you'll get is a mediocre first-year university. I reached out and pulled the manual back from her hand. Then, let's see who cries. My calmness caught her off guard. Before she could respond, the entrance of the exam venue suddenly buzzed with activity. Several black sedans pulled up to the curb, and a crowd of people with cameras and microphones surged forward, surrounding a middle-aged man in a gray suit as he walked toward the exam site. That's the leader from the City Education Bureau here to send good wishes to the examinees. Someone recognized him and excitedly nudged the person next to them. Look, look. Is that the boss of Shermian's aunt? Qin Yuman grabbed Lin Shermian's arm. Shermian, go say hi. Let your aunt's boss see you. How impressive would that be? Lin Sharm's smile froze for a split second. Don't be silly, there are so many reporters here, it's too flashy. She took half a step back and pulled Feng Xiaoying to turn around. Come on, let's head into the exam hall first. No time to waste, Sherman's so low-key, Sanjay said admiringly. Chinese glanced back at me and snorted. Sunan and Sherman gave you so many chances and you threw them all away. This is your last shot at getting in on the connections. When the college entrance exam scores come out, don't come crawling to her. I said nothing and followed the crowd into the exam hall. I found my seat, sat down, and arranged my stationery first exam, Chinese. In the same exam room as me were 4 or 5 classmates from my class. I've memorized all the answers this time. I'm getting at least 130 on Chinese. Let's grab a meal together. After the exam, call Shermian. Sure, my treat. I closed my eyes and studied my breathing. The bell rang. The proctor began handing out the papers. I took the Chinese exam sheet and scanned the questions from start to finish. The style was very close to the practice test. Even the essay topic overlapped with the theme from the third practice set. I picked up my pen and started writing from the first question around me. The sound of people flipping pages grew slower. First, there was silence. Then came the frantic rustling of pages. And then from diagonally behind me, a stifled scream broke out. What's going on? These questions. They don't match what Lin Qian gave us at all. Chapter 11. That scream was like a pebble dropped into a pond. The entire exam room erupted into chaos. No. The first multiple choice question is different. The reading comprehension passage isn't even in the answers. There's no such article. I'm done for. I memorized the essay topic, but the paper doesn't have it. The proctor slammed the podium with a sharp crack. Quiet. No communication during the exam. Speak again and you'll be disqualified. The classroom fell silent instantly, but the panic was unstoppable. Sanjay, sitting diagonally in front of me, was shaking so badly she could barely hold her pen. She flipped through the paper 3 times, the color draining from her face behind me. Qin Yangang bit down on his pen cap, sweat beading on his forehead. They had spent an entire week memorizing the real exam answers. Now, not a single word was useful. But me, I wrote smoothly, effortlessly. Every question. Every piece of knowledge I had chewed over it repeatedly in the past week after the Chinese exam. I walked out, the hallway was in an uproar. Where's Lin Sherman? Where is she? Didn't she say her aunt was the deputy director of the provincial exam board? How are all these answers fake? I wrote my entire essay based on that topic, and now it's not even on the paper. I'm getting a 0. A few redade boys were frantically searching for her. Lin Sherman came out of the neighboring exam room, her makeup slightly smudged. Qin Ying rushed over and grabbed her arm. Sherman, what's going on? Not a single answer you gave matched. Lin Sherman bit her lower lip and took half a step back. Don't panic. Chinese is always hard to predict. Math, English, and science. Those are the big ones. They'll definitely match. Really? Of course. My aunt compiled them herself. How could they be fake? Qin Yuming let go, and walked away, half convinced. I passed by them. Lin Sherman froze when she saw me. I said nothing. I lowered my head, flipped open my math formula booklet and headed to the next exam room. Her gaze followed my back. I didn't need to turn around to know. It was filled with nothing but fear. Chapter 12. After the math exam, no one spoke. After the English exam, someone crouched in the hallway, clutching their head. After the science exam, Sanjay sat on the steps outside the exam hall and started crying out loud. All 4 exams. Not a single one, not a single question, matched the answers Lincherman had given. Even the question types were different. At the exam center entrance, the whole class gathered in a circle. Lincherman, come out and explain yourself. I memorized stuff for a whole week and it's all useless. Do you know I left all the math problems blank? Lincherman was surrounded, her face pale, lips trembling. I don't know what happened either. Maybe they changed the questions last minute this year. Changed all 4 exams changed. Do you think we're idiots? Chin Ying slapped the pillar next to him. Lincherman, do you even have that end or not? I do. Of course I do. Lincherman almost shouted, if you don't believe me, I can call her. Then call her now. Call her in front of everyone. Lincherman pulled out her phone, scrolled through her contacts for ages. Her fingers sliding across the screen, but never pressing the dial button. She should be busy today. Busy with what? A week ago. You said she'd pick up any time. A few girls also crowded around firing off questions. Pham Xiao Qing stood on the outer edge, silent, quietly stepping back 2 steps. I grabbed my bag and walked past the crowd. Someone saw me and froze for a second. My expression was calm because I already knew. Lincherman spotted me in the crowd and suddenly yelled like I was her lifeline. Sunan, did you already know the answers were fake? If you knew, why didn't you say anything? You just wanted to watch us make fools of ourselves. Everyone's eyes turned to me. I stopped and looked at her last time in the classroom. When I said, no need, what was your reaction? No one answered. A week ago, when you guys grabbed those answers, did any of you think a temp worker could get the real provincial college entrance exam questions? My voice wasn't loud, but the wind was light at the exam center entrance, and every word was crystal clear. Lin Shimon's face twisted. You're lying. My aunt isn't a temp worker. Is she or isn't she? We can check. I turned and walked toward my dad's old bicycle, waiting for me. The arguing behind me grew louder. The wind scattered those sounds. Not my problem anymore. Chapter 13. The day the scores came out was a bright, sunny day. At 8:00 a.m., the score-checking channel opened. I sat at my desk and entered my exam number. The page loaded. Chinese 138, Math 149, English 143, Science 289, total 719, Provincial Top and Science. I stared at the screen for over 10 seconds, then closed the page and walked out of the room. Dad was cooking noodles in the kitchen. He heard my footsteps and glanced back out. Yeah. 719 Provincial Top. His hand holding the spatula pause. Then he nodded, turned back and kept cooking. Eat. As I picked up the noodles with my chopsticks, I saw his hand trembling. Less than half an hour after eating, my phone exploded. Teacher Joe called first. Ninan, Provincial Top Scholar. I knew it. I knew it. Her voice was choked with tears. Then came calls from the school, the District Education Bureau, and interview requests from 3 media outlets. The class group chat was buzzing. No one spoke all morning. At noon, someone finally broke the silence. Does anyone know how Sununyan scored? 2 minutes of silence. Chining posted Provincial Top 719, just saw the news push. The group went dead silent for a full 5 minutes. Then a flood of messages poured in. How is that possible? Didn't she not have the answers? Those answers were fake anyway. My total is only 317. I'm screwed. Where's Lynn Sherman? What did Lynn Sherman get? No one answered because Lynn Sherman had left the group that afternoon. I got a call at home from a reporter on the City TV Education channel. They asked if I'd be willing to do a special interview. I said yes. The interview was scheduled for 2 days later that night. Lyncherman called. I hesitated for 2 seconds, then answered. Her voice was hoarse like she'd been crying for a long time. Are you really proud of yourself? No. You must be. You knew those answers were fake all along, didn't you? You deliberately didn't tell us just to watch us humiliate ourselves. I already said in the classroom last time that I didn't need it. You threw the paper ball right in my face. Silence on the other end of the line. Lyncherman, what did you score? 361. Even the worst junior colleges in the province require over 400 points. What 361 means? She knows better than anyone. You ruined the whole class. She suddenly screamed. If it weren't for you, we wouldn't be this screwed. I hung up. Blocked the number. Chapter 14. On the day the interview aired, I didn't watch TV, but the effect was clearly bigger than I expected. I had muted the class group chat, but I still occasionally tapped in to take a look after the interview aired. The group finally had some different voices. Looking back now, Sununyan did say she didn't need it back. Then it was us who insisted on believing Lynn Sherman. Cut the crap. What's the point of saying this now? I can't even get into a decent school. What's up with Lynn Sherman anyway? Does that auntie of hers even exist? No one answered the last question, but another piece of news started spreading among classmates. Someone posted a long thread on a social platform. The title was The Dark Side of the Provincial Top Scorer. The Sun and You Don't Know. The content was written with an air of authority. Sunsen's grades weren't outstanding before, and suddenly she became the provincial top scorer suspiciously like she got her scores altered through connections. According to an insider, her father had close ties with school officials and she might have gotten inside information before the exam. I knew who wrote it the moment I finished reading the wording, the tone, and that insider phrase all matched Lin Shimon's style. Fun Xiaoying was responsible for sharing it. She used 3 different burner accounts to stir the pot in the comments. Each comment had a different tone, but the core message was the same. Sunan's grades were fishy. The thread got boosted on the local forum with over 10,000 views. Some people who didn't know the truth started jumping on the bandwagon to question it. The next morning, Teacher Joe called me. Nanan, have you seen the stuff online? I have. The school is already coordinating with the Provincial Examination Authority. Your test papers will be pulled for review. It's all clean and above board. Nothing to fear from an investigation. I said, okay. After hanging up, I opened that thread, screenshotted everything from start to finish and saved every single comment. Then I sent Tira a message. Teacher, save these screenshots. I've marked Fun Xiaoying's 3 burner accounts. The posting times and IP addresses can be checked by the platform. Teacher Joe replied with 2 words. Got it. In the afternoon, an unknown number called Sununan. I'm from the comprehensive section of the Provincial Education Examination Authority regarding the online doubts about your college entrance exam scores. We've completed the test paper review. Your answer sheets for each subject are complete. The handwriting is consistent and the surveillance footage shows you completed the exam independently with no violations. Review conclusion. Your scores are valid and there are no issues whatsoever. Thank you for your cooperation after hanging up. I screenshotted the call log and posted it in the class group chat. Not a single extra word. The group was silent for a long time. Then Qinying sent a message who wrote that thread. Still no one answered. But that night the thread was deleted by the platform. The reason suspected of spreading rumors handed over to relevant departments for verification. Chapter 15. The day after the thread was deleted, something much bigger surfaced. While reviewing my test papers, the Provincial Examination Authority also checked out a tip about suspected college entrance exam question leaks because that online thread mentioned insider leaking questions. The claim caught the authority's attention. The results of the investigation were interesting. No full-time staff at the Provincial Examination Authority was involved in any leak, but during the investigation, they found a person named Chinliwa. This person was a temporary clerk at a district-level education service company, not even a civil servant, let alone a deputy director of the Provincial Examination Authority on social platforms. She had long been impersonating an education system official, profiting by selling so-called inside materials. Those materials were all fake questions cobbled together from online sources priced between 2,000 and 5,000 yuan each. Lin Shimon's college entrance exam answer key was bought from Nistan Liwa for 5,000 yuan. Teacher Zhou saw the official notice in the school's teacher group and called me that afternoon to tell me, "Nanan, it's all cleared up. Your innocence is beyond doubt now." She paused. As for Linerman, her parents were called in for a talk at the District Education Bureau. I didn't say anything. This news quickly spread among classmates. The class group chat exploded again. So Lin Shimon's end is just a scammer. She spent 5,000 on a pile of fake questions. Her family's really loaded. No wonder she kept dodging phone calls. She knew she was full of it all along. She screwed me over. I only got 300-something points. My dad slapped me twice. Is she going to pay me back for my wasted youth? Sanji also sent a message. I really regret it now. Back when Sunny and said we didn't need to buy those. I should have listened to her. I stared at that message and didn't reply in my past life. Sanji was one of the people who helped get me drunk at the celebration banquet. She walked over with a glass, grinning. Sunan, you're barely drinking. You're not giving me face, are you? So now she says she regrets it. I don't even want to reply with a single punctuation mark. Chapter 16. The school announced a parent-teacher meeting about college entrance exam results and volunteer application guidance. Teacher Zhou specifically called to ask me to attend. Nanan, you're the provincial top scorer. Leaders from the province and city might show up. I'd like you to share your experience. I agreed. Dad put on his best white shirt and adjusted his collar in the mirror several times. I told him not to dress up too much. He said, "You're the provincial top scorer. I can't embarrass you." At the school, the lecture hall was packed. Parents, students, school administrators, even a deputy director from the City Education Bureau showed up. The front row was reserved for the top 20 students in the grade and their parents. Teacher Zhou arranged for me to sit in the very center of the first row. Just as I sat down, a commotion broke out at the door. Lin Shimon's mother, Sulafan, pushed her way in. She had big curly hair, wore stilettos, and carried a flashy bag, storming toward the front row. Where's my daughter, Lin Sherman? Which seat is she in? Teacher Zhao approached her. And Miss Su Lin Shimon's seat is in the back. The back. Why? My daughter has always done well in this class. Why is she in the back? Teacher Zhao's smile stiffened. The seats are arranged by college entrance exam. Scores this time. Scores. Sulif's voice got louder. My daughter's score is a problem. This year's exam questions were unreasonable. Many students have complained. I demand a re-evaluation. All eyes in the lecture hall turned to her. A few parents whispered among themselves. The principal stood up from the podium and walked over to Sulu. Ma'am, please take a seat first. Today's meeting has a set agenda. If you have issues, we can discuss them privately afterward. I'm not sitting. Sweef shoved away the chair the principal offered. Your school has been unfair to my daughter. Everyone knows she has a relative in the provincial exam board. And what happened? Her score comes out, and it's only 300-something. There's definitely something fishy here. The whole room went silent for 2 seconds. Then a voice came from the corner. Emma Su, the relative you mentioned from the provincial exam board. Would that be a woman named Chinliwa? It was the deputy director of the City Education Bureau. He was sitting at the side of the podium. Flipping through a file, Sulafeng froze. Yes, that's my cousin. The deputy director nodded and handed the file to a staff member to pass around. 3 days ago, we received a notice from the provincial exam board. This mess. Chin Liwa is not a staff member of the provincial exam board. She's a temporary clerk at a district-level education service company. She's been fired by the company and is under investigation for impersonating an official and selling fake college entrance exam materials. In other words, the so-called real exam questions and answers your daughter got from this Liwa were completely fabricated from start to finish. The lecture hall erupted in chaos. Su Li Fun's face went from red to white. Impossible. Liwa told me Su. The deputy director's tone was calm and unhurried. I suggest you go home and look into this carefully. The provincial exam board's official seal and notice number are all in the file. You can verify them yourself. Sulifun took a step back, then another behind her. Lyncher Men cowered in the corner, her face as pale as paper. Hundreds of eyes in the room were fixed on the mother and daughter. Some parents started murmuring, so she used fake answers to scam the whole class. No wonder our class's scores tanked this year. My son bombed because he believed those answers. A boy's father stood up with a slap of his hand, pointing at Su Luofeng. Your daughter ruined my son's life. Do you even realize that? Another parent stood up too, then a third, then a fourth. Su Lif was surrounded. She stumbled back 3 steps, nearly falling. Lyncher Men ran over to support her, and the mother and daughter huddled together, surrounded by a chorus of accusations. The principal hurried out to restore order. I sat in the front row, not moving an inch. Teacher Joe walked over and gently patted my shoulder. Your turn. Go up on stage and share your study experience. I stood up and walked onto the podium facing me. We're hundreds of people. Hello everyone, I'm Sununyan. The audience fell silent. Being the top scorer in the province or ranking first, there's no shortcut. It's just listening in class, doing homework after class, and asking questions when you don't understand. I did that set of mock exam papers 3 times. Each time I marked the reasons for my mistakes and my thought process. It's not talent. It's just being willing to put in the time. In the last row, Lynn Sherman lowered her head. When I finished speaking and walked off the stage, the applause lasted a long time. My dad sat in the parent section, clapping hard, his eyes red. Chapter 17. 3 days after the parent-teacher meeting, I thought things had settled down, but Lyncherman was tougher than I expected. Fun Xiaoing sent me a message. Nanan Shimon's been in touch with some old middle school classmates lately. I heard she's come up with a new story. I didn't reply, but the next day, I saw the effect of that new story. Someone posted a new thread on the biggest local community forum. The account was newly registered, but the content was very detailed. The gist was, Sun Yanan, the province's top scorer, had a father, Su Jiangwo, who was a physics teacher at a certain middle school with close ties to multiple leaders in the city's education system. Her grandfather, the late Su Daikong, had been the principal of the city's No. 1 middle school with students all over the world. The reason her grades suddenly skyrocketed in the last mock exam wasn't because she crammed hard, but because she had a whole chain of resources in the education system behind her. The last paragraph of the post read, "Some people are born at the finish line yet pretend they've run the whole race. Province's top scorer, just a game of power." This time, the wording was much more clever than before. It didn't directly say cheating, but hinted at unfairness. The comment section exploded. So, she's a privileged kid. No wonder with that kind of background in the end it's all about who your dad is. After reading the post, I put down my phone and sat for 5 minutes. My grandfather had indeed been the principal of No 1 middle school, but that was over 20 years ago. After retiring he went back to his hometown to grow vegetables and flowers and sold the city house a few years before he died. My dad still lives in a temporary housing unit provided by the school. 50 m, 1 bedroom 1 living room. These facts were a world away from the chain of resources in the education system described in the post, but online. The truth never outruns the rumor. I pulled up the screenshots saved on my phone and sent them to Teacher Joe. "Teacher, it's happening again." Teacher Joe replied 10 minutes later. "The school's legal counsel is negotiating with the platform. Don't worry about anything. Just focus on filling out your college applications." I put down my phone and opened the admissions brochure for Jingu University. Flipping through it page by page, the doorbell rang. I opened the door. Standing there was Chinying. He held a bag of fruit. His expression awkward. "Su Yanin. I say what you need to say." He thrust the fruit forward, then pulled it back under my gaze. "I'm here to apologize about what happened in class before. It was my fault. I shouldn't have said those things for Lynn Sherman. And I definitely shouldn't have." He swallowed. "I definitely shouldn't have led the isolation against you." I leaned against the doorframe, looking at him. "In my past life, you sold me out. You smiled and shook hands with that old bachelor, saying, 'This girl's stubborn. Keep her on a tight leash.' Apology accepted." I closed the door halfway, but I don't accept it. The door clicked shut. From the hallway came the sound of the fruit bag hitting the floor, then footsteps, fading away. Chapter 18. The admissions officer from Jinghui University arrived at our school. The province's top scorer's college application was a big deal for the school. Teacher Zhao accompanied me to the meeting room. The head of Jinghua's admissions team was a man surnamed Xiao in his 40s, wearing gold-rimmed glasses and smiling warmly. "Sunsen, your scores are confirmed. A full scholarship is directly awarded and you can choose any major." He pushed several documents over. "Also, Jinghua's Jinggong plan would like to specially invite you to join. It's a training program for the top 10 students from each province. You can enter the lab in your first year and get a dedicated mentor." I flipped through the documents and nodded. "Thank you, Teacher Xiao. I'll go back and think about my major." When I walked out of the conference room, someone was standing at the end of the hallway to lynch her men. She had lost a lot of weight. Her once meticulously styled long hair was now tied in a messy ponytail, no makeup. Heavy dark circles under her eyes. "Sunan," I stopped. She walked over and stood in front of me, arms hanging by her sides, fingers twisting the hem of her clothes. Can I ask you for one thing?" I looked at her, said nothing. "Those posts online, I didn't post them." Her voice was low. I didn't smile, but I knew she was lying. The material used in that post about my grandfather. Only people close to me knew. The whole class knew my grandfather was a principal. Only 3 people, you, Fan Xiaoying, and Chinying. Chinying came to my house yesterday to apologize. Fan Xiaoqing is still hiding and staying silent. Lyncher, want to take a guess who I believe more? Her face flushed white then red. I really didn't. What did you want to ask me?" She took a deep breath, her nails digging into her palms. "My mom is being gounded by those parents. Someone threatened to file a joint lawsuit against her. I only scored 361 points. No school will take me. I'm begging you. Say something online for me. Just say those answers had nothing to do with me. That my cousin tricked me and I'm a victim, too." By the end, her voice was trembling. I looked at her for 3 seconds. "No." Her shoulders jerked violently. "You're not a victim, lyncher man. When you had those fake answers, you didn't plan to share them with me. When you threw paper balls at my face, you didn't think you were a victim. When you splattered ink and ruined my notes, you didn't hesitate for a second. As for those posts online, you should have thought about this day when you posted the first one." I walked past her, heading toward the school gate. She stood frozen, her voice chasing after me, sharp and tearful. "Sunan, don't go too far. What are you so smug about now? You think being the provincial top scorer makes you something special?" I didn't look back. Chapter 19. And Lin Shimon's mother, Sulafan, was exactly the kind of person who could raise a daughter like that. After her daughter failed to beg me, she switched to a much crueler approach. 3 days later, Teacher Joe called me. His tone was grim. "Nanan, there's something you need to know. Lin Shimon's mother sent a complaint letter to the admissions office of Jinghui University." My hand tightened around the phone. "Complaint about what?" "Accusing you of misconduct, bullying classmates repeatedly during school, being unfit for the Qinggong Plan selection criteria." She attached a document with a joint statement from over a dozen students claiming you ostracized Lynn Sherman in class, stole her honors, and even physically pushed her. Over a dozen students, I saw the list. Most of them are Lynn Shimon's hangers on a few names. I'm not sure if they actually signed it themselves. I closed my eyes. In my past life, I died in the mountains. None of these people came looking for me. In this life, I became the provincial top scorer. Their first instinct was still to help lure men come after me. "Teacher, what did Jinghui University say?" Teacher Jiao said they have to follow procedure and verify, but he told me privately, the content in the complaint is too absurd, clearly cobbled together. Still, the process takes at least a week. A week. My college application deadline was in 5 days. The timing of that complaint letter was perfectly calculated. I hung up and sat at my desk for half an hour. Then I pulled out my phone and found a number. Director Liu, director of the discipline office, a former student of my grandfather, Uncle Liu. "It's Nanan. I need a favor." "Go ahead. I need an official school record of my conduct during my 3 years. Disciplinary records, awards, teacher evaluations, all stamped." "No problem, come pick it up tomorrow. And one more thing," I paused. "Regarding the joint statement mentioned in that complaint. Can the school verify whether the students who signed it actually did so themselves?" Director Liu was silent for 2 seconds. "I understand. Don't worry, the next afternoon, I got the school's official conduct certificate with the red stamp. 3 years, 0 disciplinary actions, 2 school-level merit student awards, 1 city-level outstanding student leader award." At the same time, Director Liu's verification results came in. Of the 14 signatures on the complaint, 6 people said they had no idea about it. Their names were forged by Lynn Sherman. 3 more said Lynn Sherman told them they were signing a class graduation commemorative album and never mentioned a complaint. Only 5 people actually signed voluntarily, including Song Jae-yin Fong Xiaoing. I sent the school certificate and verification results together to Teacher Xiao from Jinggu University. Teacher Xiao called back half an hour later. "Sunan, I received the materials. Don't worry about the whistleblowing letter. It won't affect your admission or the Green Pine program. Also, my personal suggestion, keep those malicious whistleblowing materials safe. If something similar happens in the future, they can serve as evidence." I said, "Okay." I hung up and opened the class group chat. Fun Xiaoing's profile picture was lit. I didn't say anything in the group. I just sent Fun Xiaoing a private message. "You signed that whistleblowing letter." "I know." 2 minutes later, she replied with 4 words. "I was forced." I didn't reply again. Chapter 20. Lynn Shimon's whistleblowing letter failed, but her camp was also collapsing faster. Among those 14 signatures, 6 students, whose names were forged, were furious. "Lynn Sherman, you used my name to report. Someone, are you out of your mind? What if I get sued? Are you going to compensate my reputation?" The class group chat exploded into chaos. Sanjay was the first to jump in. "Stop arguing. Sherman had no choice but to no choice. She had no choice but to forge my signature. Sanji, don't play the saint. You've been helping Lynn Sherman with this from the start." You laughed the loudest when she splattered ink on Sununan. Seji was shut down, unable to say a word. This mess dragged on for 2 days, ending with the 6 forged signature students collectively declaring in the group, "I did not participate in any whistleblowing, my signature was forged." Lynn Sherman posted a long message in the group, first explaining, then crying, and finally accusing Sun San of bullying others and leaving no room for survival. But no one replied to her, not even Chinese. That night, Fan Xiaoying came to see me, not by message. She actually showed up downstairs at my house. My dad opened the door. "Who are you?" "Hello, uncle. I'm Yan's classmate, Fan Xiaoqing." My dad glanced at me. I walked out of my room and stood at the living room door. "What's up?" Fan Xiaoying lowered her head. She wasn't wearing makeup, just an old t-shirt, looking even thinner than a few days ago. "Ninan, I came to apologize. That name on the whistleblowing letter. I signed it myself. Lynn Sherman didn't force me." She looked up at me. "And those 2 online posts before her. The first one was written by Lynn Sherman. But the second one about your grandfather. I wrote it for her. You told me about your grandfather in your first year of high school. Only I knew that much detail." The living room was silent for a few seconds. I looked at Fan Xiaoying. Memories from my past life flashed through my mind, frame by frame. When she transferred, and during our first year of high school, she was small and thin, getting bullied. I stood up for her. In her second year, she cried over a bad exam. And I spent the entire summer break tutoring her at the celebration banquet in our third year. She smiled and handed me that glass of orange juice. Why? Those 2 words slipped out of my mouth lighter than I expected. Fan Xiaoying bit her lip. Sherman said if I didn't help her, she'd spread the news about my dad's debts and him running away all over the school. I was afraid of being laughed at. I didn't dare to disobey her. Her voice got quieter and quieter, but I know that's not an excuse. That glass. She suddenly stopped because she didn't know about that glass of orange juice that was from my past life. In this life, the celebration banquet hasn't happened yet. I looked at her and swallowed the words on the tip of my tongue. "Fan Xiaoqing, I remember everything you've done. From now on, you go your way. I go mine. Don't come looking for me again." She stood there for a few seconds, then turned and wiped out the door just before closing it. She looked back at me. That look had guilt, had grievance, but I wasn't buying it anymore. In my past life, my death had her fingerprints on it. Chapter 21. On the last day for submitting college applications, I officially submitted my choice for Jinggu University's computer science program. At the end of July, the admission letter arrived at home. A craft paper envelope, heavy inside, was also a notice for the Green Pine program selection. My dad flipped through the letter 3 times, then carefully placed it in a file folder. In mid-August, the city held an education commendation ceremony once a year honoring the year's top-performing students and teachers. This year's highlight was the provincial top scorer special. The venue was set in the grand auditorium of the City Cultural Center, which could hold 800 people. My dad and I arrived half an hour early. At the entrance was a sign and wall plastered with the names and photos of the top 10 students from each school this year. My photo was right in the center with the caption "Provincial Science Champion Sununyan Qingqing No 1 High School Total Score 719. Dad stood in front of the photo for a long time. I pulled him inside. In the front row sat the City Education Bureau leaders, school principals, and representatives from a few local businesses. The middle rows were filled with students and parents. The back rows were for the media. After the opening, the awards proceeded step by step. When it came to the provincial champion segment, the host read a long introduction. I walked up to the stage, accepted the trophy and certificate. The applause from the audience was loud. Just as I was about to deliver my acceptance speech, the door at the back of the auditorium suddenly swung open. Lynn Sherman walked in. She wore a white dress, her hair loose, holding a folder in her hand. Sunan, the whole room went silent. She strode straight to the center aisle, stopped at the 5th row, and raised the folder. "What right do you have to stand up there because your grandpa is the principal of No 1 High School? Because your dad is buddy-buddy with the Education Bureau leaders. You only got the provincial champion because of your family connections. You don't deserve this award at all." Hundreds of eyes locked on her. The host froze for 2 seconds, then picked up the mic. "Student, please, I'm not leaving. Lyncherman opened the folder and pulled out a stack of printed materials. This is the network of connections between Sunan's family and the education system. Her grandpa promoted how many people when he was principal? Her dad had dinner with how many leaders? It's all in here. She tossed the materials into the air and papers scattered all over the floor. I stood on stage watching her. A buzz filled the auditorium. Some were whispering. Others craned their necks to pick up the papers from the floor. Just then, from the VIP seats beside the main stage, an old man with graying hair stood up. He wore a dark blue Zhongzhan suit with an old-school badge pinned to his chest. It was Zhang Yuning, a provincial-level special grade teacher, a titan in the education world, 82 years old, here today, specifically to award the provincial champion. Everyone in the education system knew him. He slowly walked to the front of the stage, took the mic. Student, the Su Decking you mentioned as my classmate from 50 years ago. The room grew even quieter. Old Su taught his whole life. When he retired, he didn't even have a decent house when he was principal. The school allocated funds to build teacher dormitories and he gave up his own spot for a young teacher living in a cramped apartment building for 10 years. His son Su Jiangwo, I know him too. He taught physics at a rural township school for 20 years, earning just over 3,000 a month. He never asked anyone for a single favor. Sang Yuning lived at Linnerman, the network of connections you mentioned. I saw those papers on the floor. They're all fabricated. If old Su knew someone was using his name to spread lies from up in heaven, he'd probably be furious enough to jump out of his coffin. Lin Shaman's face turned pale, then green. Hundreds of people stared at her. No one spoke up for her. Xiang Yunying turned to me, his tone softening. Little girl, I've seen your exam papers, 719 points. Every single one earned by real skill. If your grandpa were still here, he'd be prouder than anyone. He pulled an old envelope from his pocket and handed it to me. This is the last letter your grandpa wrote before you passed. He sent it to me. It mentioned you, he said. This granddaughter of mine will surpass me one day. I've kept it for years. Today, I'm giving it to you personally. When I took the envelope, my hands were trembling below the stage. My dad stood up. His face was covered in tears. Lyncherman stood in the aisle, surrounded by people staring at her with nothing but contempt. She clutched her empty folder, took a step back, then another step. Then she turned and ran out. The auditorium erupted in applause that lasted a long time. Chapter 22. After the awards ceremony, Lyncherman disappeared for 3 days. For 3 days, the class group chat was flooded with the drama. Someone had posted the live video online, and it hit over 50,000 views in a single day. The comments were one-sided. This is what happens to liars. Fake answers screw the whole class, forged signatures on complaint letters, and now she crashes the awards ceremony. What kind of freak is this? The provincial champion's grandpa was a lifelong teacher and she gets slandered by someone who cheated the whole class with fake answers. Where's the justice? I didn't read those comments, but Lynn Sherman obviously did. On the 4th day, she posted a long status update on social media. Wrote nearly 2,000 words from start to finish. She cried about being the victim. I was tricked by the fake answers, too. I've lived in the shadow of outstanding classmates since I was a kid. Sun Yenin has been targeting me. That day, I went to the awards ceremony because I was too wrong. A moment of impulse. Please, everyone, stop cyberbullying me. She attached a black background image, hinting at her poor mental state. The comment section split into 2 camps. Some people cursed her. Others started to sympathize. She messed up, but she's still an 8-year-old kid. Was she pushed too hard? The provincial top scholar won. Can't she just let it go? This post shares kept growing. A local somewhat famous emotional blogger reposted her thread adding a comment, "Don't let the halo of the winner crush the last shred of dignity of the loser." The tide began to turn. People started leaving comments under my interview video. Why isn't the provincial top scholar responding? Is she feeling guilty? Teacher Joe called. Ninan, have you seen what's online? I've seen it. What are you going to do? Not respond, huh, teacher. Every accusation she wrote has counter-evidence. The fake answers were distributed by her voluntarily with the whole class's witnesses. The complaint letter had forged signatures with statements from 6 classmates. The disturbance at the award ceremony has on-site video. I have all this saved, but now isn't the time to use it. Teacher Joe was silent for a moment. You're way more mature than I thought. I hung up. Mature, not mature. It's dying once in a past life and knowing what a real dead end looks like. Those people's mouths online can't flip the sky. I opened the freshman group for Jingu University and checked the start date. Half a month left. Chapter 23. Lynn Shimon's victim persona online lasted less than a week because her classmate stepped in. The first person to speak up surprised everyone. It was Sanjay. She posted a long thread on her social platform. I'm Lynn Shimon's classmate and her closest follower. Every single thing below I've experienced firsthand. That so-called college entrance exam answer Keen Sherman had was bought for 5,000 yuan from a scammer pretending to be a provincial exam official. She knew it was shady, but she still bragged about it in class, saying it was through her aunt's connections. She forced Sununyan to kneel and apologize in front of the whole class in the classroom. Sununyan refused. So, she threw paper balls at Sununyan's face. After Sununyan got first in the grade, she told a few of us to dump a bucket of water on Sununyan and ruin all her review notes with ink. That complaint letter to Jinghui University. She forged 6 classmates' signatures. My name was signed by me. I'm responsible for that and I apologize, but I'm not lying for her anymore. At the end of the post, she attached a screenshot of Lynn Shimon's private messages asking Sanji to help with the water dumping and note ruining timestamps, content, emojis, all clear once this post came out. The comment section exploded that emotional blogger quietly deleted their repost under Lynn Shimon's victim post. The top comment became, so from start to finish, you are the bully. I actually sympathized with someone who threw paper balls in people's faces and ruined their review notes. I must be blind. The provincial top scholar earned her spot with her skills. You used fake answers to screw over the whole class. And you still have the nerve to play the victim. Within 3 days, Lynn Shimon's social platform comments were flooded with thousands of curses. She turned off comments. Then private messages. Finally, she set her account to invisible. After Sanji posted, she sent me a message. Sununyanin, I don't expect your forgiveness, but I said what needed to be said. From now on, live your good life and don't think about us anymore. I replied with 2 words. Thanks. That's it. Chapter 24. September 1st. Jingu University started. I packed my bags and Dad took me to the train station. He carried the biggest suitcase and stood on the platform for a long time. Call home to let us know you've arrived. Okay, eat well, don't skimp on money. I'll send you 1,500 every month. Tell me if it's not enough. It's enough. He wanted to say more. Opened his mouth, then closed it. When the train started moving, I saw him through the window, still standing there, waving toward the carriage several times. When I got to Jingu University, the first thing was to go to the registration point to get my student ID. Green Pine program students had a separate check-in channel. The senior sister in charge of reception led me to the exclusive dormitory building. The dormitory was a 4-person room with facilities much better than the standard ones. 2 of the 3 roommates had already arrived. One was Lucy Yuan from the Northeast, ranked top 5 in the province with a laugh that was especially loud. One was Ying from Zhujiang, ranked top 8 in the province, soft-spoken with a row of reference books on her desk. The 3rd roommate hadn't shown up yet. I had just spread up my blanket when my phone buzzed. In the class group chat, someone sent a message. Lyncherman is going to repeat a year. Someone below asked, Where is she repeating? Her mom spent money to stuff her into a private school's repeat class in a neighboring city. They say tuition is $60,000 a year. Oh, that's good. Hope she doesn't stir up any more trouble next year. I swiped past the group messages that evening. The Green Pine Program mentor meeting was held in the lecture hall. My mentor was Professor, he the Vice Dean of the Computer Science Department. He was in his 50s with graying hair and a fast-speaking pace. Sununyanin right. I saw your math paper. The solution to the last problem was very interesting, different from the standard answer, but the logic was more concise. I was a bit surprised. He smiled. The provincial top scorer's paper was shown to us by the province. Work hard and I'll bring you into the lab in the second half of freshman year. Coming out of the lecture hall, the night wind was chilly. Street lights cast tree shadows on the ground. My phone buzzed again. An unknown number I picked up. On the other end was a woman's voice choked with tears. Sunsin, it's me, Fun Xiaoing. I didn't say anything. Nanan, I know you don't want to talk to me, but I'm begging you to listen to one thing. Before Lynn Sherman started repeating, she said something to me. She said, Sunyan thinks she won. I'll make her regret this. When I get into college next year, I'll start all over again. I don't think she'll let it go. You be careful. I was silent for a few seconds. Why are you telling me this? Fa King was silent on her end, too. Maybe because I don't want to make the same mistakes again. I hop up. I didn't block this number, but I didn't save it either. Chapter 25, first semester of freshman year, my days were full and calm. The Green Pine Program courses were much harder than the regular ones. But with my past life's college foundation, and the deliberate accumulation after rebirth, I adapted quickly. Midterms, I ranked first in the computer science department freshman year. Professor. He saw my transcript in the lab and nodded. Join the lab early next semester. Everything seemed to be going well until the last week before winter break. Lucian burst into the dorm, slamming open my laptop. Nanan, look, your class's story is trending. I opened social media. A local education blogger had posted a long article titled, A Fake Answer Ruined 42 Students' Futures. The provincial top scorer stayed silent. The article was written very emotionally. The core point was Sununyanan, knowing the answers were fake, chose not to warn her classmates. She studied alone, scored high alone, and watched the whole class fall into the trap. The provincial top scorer is certainly excellent, but is excellence to the point of cold-bloodedness worth praising? The comment section was a mess. Some said the top scorer had no obligation to warn others. Some said knowing and not reporting was a form of evil. Some dug up the incident where I was splashed with water and pelted with paper balls in the classroom, claiming I was retaliating because I was bullied. The wording of this article was too familiar to me. It wasn't Lynn Shyman style. It was someone more experienced. I scrolled through the blogger's profile and found clues this blogger had registered just 3 months ago. And the first post was a neutral-sounding explainer about the fake answer incident. Then step by step, they guided the narrative, ending with this article directly targeting me, building an account, building momentum, striking a fatal blow. This wasn't a tactic Lyncher could think of. It was her mother, Sui Yong. I called Teacher Joe. Teacher, help me check this blogger's registration info, see if it's linked to Sui Yong. Teacher Joe said she'd contact the school's legal advisor. I put down my phone and walked out of the dorm. Jinghui University's winter was biting cold, my breath turning into white mist for the past 6 months. I thought everything was over, but some people's hatred doesn't fade with distance or time. I pulled up all the screenshots, recordings, statements, and official documents saved on my phone and packed them into a compressed file. Then, I opened social media and posted a status on my own account. No long-winded explanations, just one sentence and a set of images. The truth doesn't need packaging. Here are all the raw records from the past 6 months. From fake answers to fake reports to fake personas, the timeline is complete. The chain of evidence is closed. Comment after you've seen it. Images from the 1st to the 12th, arranged in chronological order. First image, a screenshot of Lynch or men showing off the answers in a group chat. Second image, the entire class's mock exam score sheet. Third image, the provincial exam authorities' notice on Chini's identity. Fourth image, the review conclusion of my exam paper. Fifth image, a statement from the 6 classmates whose signatures were forged in the report letter. Sixth image, a screenshot of Sanjay's public chat records. Seventh image, a screenshot of Lin Shaman's chat record ordering the water pouring and note destruction. Eighth image, a copy of the report letter Lin Xian's mother sent to Jinggu University. Ninth image, Jinggu University admissions office's reply stating the report is unfounded. 10th image, a screenshot from the awards ceremony scene. 11th image, a full transcript of Mr. Shang Yuning's speech on stage. 12th image, a screenshot of the private messages between that education blogger and Lin Shaman's mother, Sullivan. The last image was just sent to me by Teacher Ho. The legal counsel traced the blogger's registered phone number which matched exactly with the secondary card number under Suli Fun's name 10 minutes after this post went live. It was shared over 1,000 times an hour later. Over 10,000 the comments under that education blogger's post completely flipped. So the rumor M's mom showed up. Apple doesn't fall far from the tree. This set of evidence gives me chills. These mother and daughter have been at it for half a year. The provincial top scorer held out until now to post this. I'd have snapped way earlier. The trending topic changed from provincial top scorer silent to provincial top scorer's full face slapping record. That night, the education blogger's account was bent by the platform Reason repeatedly posting false content and malicious marketing. Lyncherman posted her last update on social media. Just one line, all of you can go die. Deleted 10 minutes later, but the screenshot had already spread everywhere. Chapter 26, Winter Break. I went back to Ching. The streets were thick with New Year vibes. Red lanterns hanging everywhere. I planned to just have a quiet holiday, but on the 3rd day of the Lunar New Year, something unexpected happened. Dad's phone rang after he answered. His expression turned a bit odd. Nanan, your classmates are having a reunion. Who organized it? Chinying. He said he wants to apologize to you in person, and he's invited a bunch of classmates, too. I looked at my dad. He said, you don't have to go if you don't want to. How many people? He said over 10. I thought about it. I'll go. The reunion was set in a private room at a hot pot restaurant in the city center. When I arrived, 12 people were already inside. Chinying, Sanji, and 10 other classmates who had been close to or distant from lyncher men, no lyncher, no fun xiaoing. When I pushed the door open, the room suddenly went silent. 12 pairs of eyes stared at me. Some gazes were guilty, some were awkward, some were dodging. Chinying stood up first. He walked around the table, came up to me, and bowed 90 degrees. Sununan, I'm sorry. He straightened up, his face red as a beet. Everything I did in senior year, every single thing was wrong. I don't have the face to ask for your forgiveness. But I had to say it to your face. I looked at him. This life's Chinying never got the chance to do what he did in the last one, but he'd still done plenty of bad things in this life. I helped Lin Sherman gang up on you in class. That was me. I mocked you in the hallway for not having the answers. That was me. I led the charge in isolating you in class. That was me. I knew Lyncherman was going to pour water on you and didn't stop it. That was me. With each confession, people nearby nodded along. Sanjay stood up too, Sunan. I said those things online last time, but I did more than that. I was there the day of the water pouring too. She lowered her head one by one. They stood up one by one. They spoke. Someone said, I shouldn't have joined in the jeering. Someone said, I knew it was wrong back then, but I didn't have the guts to speak up. Someone said after the fake answers thing came out, I wanted to apologize to you, but I didn't have the face. 12 people talked for over 20 minutes. I stood there the whole time, not saying a word. When they were all done, I pulled out a chair and sat down. I heard your apologies, but whether I forgive you depends on me, not on how much you've said. Some things I don't want to forgive right now. Maybe later, maybe never. The private room fell silent for a moment. Chiny nodded. That's fair. I poured myself a glass of water and took a sip. Did you order the hot pot? I'm hungry. The atmosphere loosened a little. Sanji quickly went to call the waiter. I watched the pot start to boil. Thinking back to the faces of these people in my past life, have I let it all go? No. But someone who's lived once knows that hatred is a dull blade. It always cuts the deepest on yourself. I don't forgive, but I let myself go. Chapter 27. On the 6th day of the first lunar month, Fam Xiaoing found me. Not a phone call, not a message. She was waiting directly outside my apartment building. Nian. She leaned against the wall by the unit door, wearing a thin cotton jacket, shivering from the cold. I didn't know how long she'd been standing there. What's up? I heard your class had a reunion. Yeah, I wasn't invited. She laughed bitterly. Qin Yuming said I didn't deserve to come. I looked at her. Her face was thinner than the last time I saw her. Cheekbones jutting out, lips chapped. Nian, for everything I did, I know a simple apology isn't nearly enough. That post about your grandfather, I wrote it. I signed the complaint letter. Lincherman told me to stir things up in the group chat and I did it every single time. She paused. But there's one thing I want to tell you face to face. What is it? Lincherman is repeating the year. But she's not studying. Her mom paid to get her in and she spends all her time online. She's used at least 5 or 6 new burner accounts on different platforms to spread rumors about you. You take one down. She creates another. That last account, the education blogger one, was her mom's, but all the scattered posts after that, she wrote them herself. I frowned. How do you know? Because she's still using the group chat I set up for her. In that group, besides her and her mom, there are 2 or 3 people I don't recognize, probably online trolls her mom hired. Fun Xiaoing pulled out her phone from her pocket and scrolled to a chat page. I've screenshots of the group chat records from 3 months ago, up to yesterday. All of them are here. She handed me her phone. I took it and scrolled through from start to finish. The content was even denser than I'd imagined. Lynn Sherman used different burner accounts on forums, communities, and candy platforms to post repeatedly. The content was basically the same, all attacks on me. Some said I got into Jingu University through connections, some said I bullied people at school. Some made up a story about me bullying a roommate in the dorm, complete with dialogue that sounded almost real. Her mom was in the group teaching her how to change IPs, how to nurture accounts, how to bypass platform reviews. After reading it all, I handed the phone back to Fun Xiaoqing. Keep a copy of these screenshots for yourself and send another copy to Teacher Ho. Okay. She put her phone away and stood there for a few seconds. Nanan, I know you'll never see me as a friend again, but I don't want to be a bad person anymore. Then don't. I turned and headed upstairs. After a few steps, I paused. Fang. Yeah. What happened with your dad? It's nothing to be ashamed of. She froze. I didn't look back. The door closed behind me. In my past life, I died without ever knowing why Fam Xiaoing betrayed me. In this life, I found out it was because Lincherman blackmailed her over her dad's death and disappearance. A 17 or 18-year-old girl, afraid of her family's shame being exposed, afraid of being laughed at, so she'd do anything. I don't forgive, but I understand. Chapter 28. The group chat records Fang Xiaoing handed over became the final straw that broke Lin Shiman's back. After teacher Joe received the screenshots, she did three things. First, she forwarded the materials to the school's legal advisor. Second, she contacted the administration of the school where Lynn Sherman was repeating. Third, she notified Lynn Shyman's mother, Sullivan. The repeat school reacted quickly. They investigated Lynn Shyman's performance since enrollment and found her attendance rate was under 40%. She basically played on her phone during class. And her mock exam scores were 20 points lower than her college entrance exam results. More critically, the school found login records for those burner accounts on her phone. The school's decision was expulsion. The reason was serious violation of student conduct standards, chronic truancy, and malicious defamation of others online. After receiving the notice, Sullivan stormed into the school and caused a huge scene. She was escorted out by security when the news reached the class group chat. No one expressed any sympathy. She's repeating the year and can't even study properly. She has time to trash people online. Serves her right to be expelled. Her mom is absolutely insane. Teaching her daughter to create fake accounts and hire bots. What kind of parenting is that? I saw these messages in the study room at Jingu University. Turned off my phone and kept reading. 3 days later, Suli found my dad. She called him several times. He didn't pick up. Then she went straight to his school and blocked him at the faculty office door. Teacher Sue, I'm begging you. Please make your daughter leave our Sherman alone. She's still young. She doesn't know any better. My dad glanced at her. Miss Sue, my daughter has never once actively sought out trouble with your daughter. Every single time your daughter struck first. Where were you when she poured water on my daughter in class? Where were you when she destroyed my daughter's notes? Where were you when she forged a signature to write a complaint letter? Now that things have blown up to this point, you come to me. He stood up and opened the office door. I have nothing to say. You can leave. Sullivan stood at the doorway, her lips trembling several times. In the end, she said nothing and left. That night, my dad called me. Nanan, don't worry about things here, Dad can handle it. Just focus on your studies. Okay, he paused. Did you read your grandfather's letter? Yes, he was right. You're stronger than him. I held the phone, my throat tightening. Dad. During the new year, I lit incense for Grandpa and placed a photo of my acceptance letter on his grave. There was a long silence on the other end. Then my dad said 2 words. Good kid, chapter 29. Second semester of freshman year. Professor. He officially brought me into the lab. The research group I joined was working on a provincial level project. The team had 3 PhD students, 2 master's students, and I was the only undergraduate. At the first group meeting, a senior PhD student glanced at me, clearly unimpressed. But 2 weeks later, I independently completed an optimization of a data module, improving its runtime efficiency by 37%. When the senior got the results, he stared at the screen for 5 minutes, then walked over and patted me on the shoulder. All right, I'm convinced. Professor, he announced at the group meeting that next semester he would recommend me for the National College Student Computer Innovation Competition. Final exams came. I ranked first in the college. The full scholarship was renewed for another year of summer break. I went home. Dad had moved to a new place. The school allocated him an 80-meter 2-bedroom apartment. It wasn't big, but it was way better than the old 50-some temporary housing. In the living room hung a photo of my grandfather in his youth standing at the entrance of No One High School. Beside it was a piece of his calligraphy. Education is about igniting, not filling. On the cabinet below the photo sat my provincial top scorer certificate and my Jingu University acceptance letter. Dad had polished them until they were spotless. Occasionally, someone still spoke in the class group chat. Most of my classmates had gone to different schools, some to vocational colleges, some to third-tier universities, some chose to repeat a year. Chin Yuming went to an average second-tier university. Majoring in business administration, he rarely spoke in the group anymore. Songji entered a normal university in our province. She occasionally posted campus photos in the group. Pham Xiaoying didn't go to college. She went to a city in the south to work. One day, she sent a message in the group. I'm working as an assistant at a design company. The pay isn't high, but I'm learning things. Everyone, keep going. Someone in the group replied with a keep going emoji. I clicked on her moments. The latest post was a photo of her desk with a small potted plant on it. The caption, a new beginning. I didn't like it, but I read it through news about Lyncherman came to me threatening. After she was expelled from the repeat school, she switched to an even worse school to continue studying, but her reputation had already spread through the local education circle. The fake answers scandal made her the main character. No school was willing to take her. In the end, Sui Fong used a distant relative's connection to send her to a private school in a small city in another province. Apparently, she was very quiet there, didn't interact with anyone, and her grades were just barely passing. She never posted anything online again. On Teacher's Day, Teacher Joe sent me a message. Nanan, you're the student I'm most proud of having taught. Thank you, teacher. I replied, Teacher, thank you for writing me that leave slip back then. She sent a smiley face. Then another message. I heard the content of your grandfather's letter from old Mr. Zhang Yuning. I'll change one word in old Sue saying for him. She will definitely surpass all of us one day. I stared at the screen, my throat burning so much I couldn't speak. Chapter 30. 4 years later, at the outstanding graduate thesis defense of the School of Computer Science, Jinggu University, my graduation project won the only special prize in the entire college. Professor, he sat on the review panel, took off his glasses, wiped them, and said in a calm tone that couldn't hide his satisfaction. Su Nian is staying for graduate school with me. Applause rippled through the audience. Lucy Yuan whistled from the back row. After the defense ended, I walked out of the lecture hall. The ginkgo leaves on campus had turned yellow, carpeting the ground. My phone rang. A delivery notification. Back in the dorm. I opened it to find a small box. Inside was an old pocket watch. Attached was a note. The handwriting vigorous. It was from old master Jean Yin Qing. This was a gift from your grandfather back. Then now it's returned to its rightful owner. Little girl, walk well. I flipped the watch over. Engraved on the back was a line. After a lifetime of teaching. My best work is you. That line was carved from my father. But at this moment, it belonged to me, too. I put the watch away, zipped up my backpack. As I left, I passed the main gate of the school. A taxi pulled up at the entrance. And a girl got out. She dragged her suitcase, stood at the gate, and looked up at the plaque of Jinghui University. I gave her an extra glance. She wasn't Lyncherman. She was a new face, about 18 or 19, looking a bit timid, but with a very earnest light in her eyes. She noticed me watching her, hesitated, then walked over and asked, Excuse me, Senior, how do I get to the freshman registration office? Go straight to the end, turn left at the first building. Thanks, Senior. She smiled, grabbed her suitcase, and ran off. I watched her back, and suddenly remembered myself 4 years ago. That girl from a small city carrying an old suitcase, wearing her father's faded white shirt, standing at this gate, looking up at the plaque. That girl who was once isolated by the whole class, drenched with water, had her notes destroyed, was framed and besieged by rumors. That girl who died in the mountains in her past life, forgotten by everyone, now she stood here. The graduate school acceptance letter was in her backpack. Professor Heath's lab was waiting for her. Her photo sat on the windowsill of her father's new home. Her grandfather's pocket watch pressed against her chest. Ginkgo leaves fell on her shoulders. The wind was nice after hearing the story above. What are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you like this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.